Hey everybody, this is Stephanie. I'm going to jump right in. We're moving on to the next square. You're going to just do a simple E-wrap cast on. Here we are, just changing the color. And we're doing a 3-color block square. And I show you really quick right there. And this is how I would do a color change and how you just add in your new square if you choose to leave it on. And this will be considered row 1. You'll see on the screen I have written instructions as well. So always pause the video and you can write the instructions, the pattern. I do encourage you to watch the entire video beforehand, just so you can get all the tips and tricks and understand the techniques before you start your square. So really quick, I did my first row, which was the E-wrap cast on, and I'm going to show you. I do a double knot and I weave in my tails. So I double knot my tails together. I'm so sorry if you heard the notification on my phone. I don't know if it records it. And here I am, just double knotting my ends. And I'm going to weave them in at the end. I don't do that on camera just because if you've seen any of my Loom videos, you know I do not like to weave in. I don't like to sew, but I do on scrapbooking paper, so that's kind of funny. I'm letting you know the pattern is the same. From the basic first square we've learned. Now it's row 1 through 10. You pause the video and you do your garter stitch, which is knit a row and purl a row. You alternate for the first from row 1 to row 10. So pause it now. Okay, and now we're going to be back with row 11 right here. That should be the start of your square, your color block sequence. You have done your 10 rows of just knitting and purling the garter stitch. So I'm showing you, this is our focal piece, what we're going to be doing. But again, I'm doing it on a different project. So this was my swatch one. I'm just talking about how I chose to divide the rows, the total number of rows. And keep in mind right there, do you see that? If you end up changing your color yarn on a purl row, you will see that. You can always just add up how many colors you want to do and keep it an even number where you always where your new color it lands on an E-wrap. So I showed you just so that way you do see the difference if you were to change color on a purl row. But you can always keep your sets together. So change your colors on an E-wrap row and you will not see it like the other 2 colors that are offered. On the screen, I let you know how I got the number 15 to divide my colors, divide the rows per color. Same sequence, it's 45 rows and just balance that out by your colors. Moving on to the body portion. This is where I describe the body portion of the pattern, which is when our purls will change after row 10. So row 11 will be an E-wrap all the way across, and then we have our purl row for row 12. And this is where we insert the body portion and what changes our purl pattern. You're going to just purl the outer color-coded pegs, and then you're going to E-wrap the 12 center pegs. And you do that all the way up to row, let's see, I'm trying to remember, 34. Throughout those 34 rows, though, we will switch colors again. So right here, I'm just letting you know that's going to be our new pattern for the most of the duration of this square. Which, if you've seen previous, the first original pattern, it's the same one. All we're changing up is just doing the color sequence within it, changing the yarn. So that way we have this cute 3-colored square. So I'm showing you really quick. This is row 12, how the pattern changed. That way, if you are just coming in, follow the instructions. You do not have to see previous videos. I am running it down each time just so that way it's available per video instead of having to sift through all the other videos. If you're coming just for this 3-tier color block square with a garter edge, this is how you do it. We're about to E-wrap. This is going to be row 13. I'm so sorry, sometimes I'm off camera. I do not realize. I get in my zone and then I remember, oh snap, I'm supposed to be better under the camera. I can only get better, guys. So I just mentioned it was row 13. We're going to be doing our E-wrap. Okay, now we're moving on to row 14. This is going to be our outer pegs only that have the purl, and again, we're just doing the same pattern. Our 12 center pegs are going to have the E-wrap. So we purl the outer pegs and we E-wrap the 12 center pegs. And that's what's going to make this square with the little bit of a design, and we change our style with just adding in more colors. This is why I liked adding in these colors, because it's a perfect way to do things. If you have scrap yarn and or if you want to do a baby blanket with a bunch of different patchwork squares but change it up a little bit, like I mainly just use E-wrap and the garter stitch to make all these squares, and I'm happy with that. It's enough of a change and enough colors to add in that each square will have its own little difference. So I'm just going through this purl row pretty quickly here. I know I did, speed this up. Just giving you the general idea. You can always pause the video to catch up. Okay, we'll be moving on to row 15, where we E-wrap the entire row. This will be the last row with white, and we'll be doing our first color change. And if you don't like the look of the color change being on a purl row, which will be row 16, you can do it either on this row or you could do it on a later row. You can add in more colors, so you'll divide it by the 45 rows and just place them in. You can do as many or as little as you like. Here we are now on row 16. It is a purl row. This is how I add in a color change for this row. There may be other techniques that you are more than welcome just to add in your own way. This is just how I do it, and it works for me. I did slow the video down at this time just so that you can get a better understanding of it. I I do the slip knot as a purl. I bring it in regularly. Again, I'm making this like, it just goes in. Don't panic with it. Just bring it in the way you normally do your rows. So I added it in like a purl, and then I'm going to just continue down my purls with the second color. I do tie in the pink and the white yarn together with a double knot, and I'm going to be weaving in my ends, my tails. So I'm going to show you this. And you will continue the rest of this row with your purls on the color-coded pegs and the E-wraps in the center pegs. We're keeping the pattern the same. The only change we did was just to switch the color up. I like the fact of adding different colors to these squares, so they're not really being too complicated, but I'm adding in a change to each one. So for rows 16 to 30, you're going to be doing the same thing we've been doing, which is E-wrapping the odd rows and purling the even rows, only the color-coded pegs. And you'll be doing the E-wraps on the center peg. So the same exact pattern we've been doing all the way up to row 30. I will meet you back at row 31, so pause the video and continue this pattern. All right, now we're on row 31, And this is where we do our third color change. And it is basically how we started off this video. We just added it on like we're going to do a regular E-wrap row. And there it is. I'm showing you really quick. And then you just knit over. It is that simple. That's why I feel like you can do as many colors as you want in this square. You could just do one of every color of your scrap yarn if that's all you have. 2 rows of every color. You know, honestly, the options are endless. It's as far as your imagination will go. I love the idea of doing scrap yarn, but then so many ideas flooded into my head, and I just wanted to do it in a ombre effect of the certain colors. That's just how my brain works, but I am curious to see how many colors, you know, how bold and bright the colors were of scrap yarn. So I'm showing you that I tightened the pink loop, the previous color number 2, before I knot them together and sew in the ends. So just make sure it's not loose, your second color, before you cut it off and you leave your third color there. So just make sure, yeah, that loop is not loose. There you have it. We just added in our third color, and for the duration of the next rows between, I believe we just did, this is row 31 to 44, you're going to have this color, this third color, unless you add more, which you are more than welcome to do so. I do want to mention from row 31 to 34, you're still doing the same pattern, which is the E-wrap a row, and then the purl rows where you only do the outer color coded pegs, and the E-wrap the 12 centered pegs. So keep doing what we're doing. We're doing the same technique, the same pattern so far. And I show you here on this purl row, we are only doing the outer pegs for our garter stitch, which we've been consistent with the last 3 squares that I've showed. This is what makes them all alike, and it's easier when you do your pattern for the baby blanket. All the squares have that edging, so it doesn't completely change if the square size and the different variations that could bring with different patterns. So here we are. We're just knitting off the E-wraps off of this purl row. So sorry, it's going in and out of focus. I think it's a lot going on being so close. I have already finished my first column in this baby blanket I happen to be making. I'm already moving on to my second column. I'm super still excited about this. They're perfect little projects to do while I'm sitting on the couch, which is why you'll always see, you know, bits and pieces that I put together in this video. Okay, we're on to row 33, which is an E-wrap row, and we're E-wrapping all the way across as normal. Don't forget to check out Instagram. I do share updates on this project, and I would love to see any type of square or projects that you come up with this. It's always fun when you're doing it with someone, so definitely check it out and share what you make. Alright, and I'm letting you know 34 was the last row that you do the pattern on the purl row. And here we are, we're going to be jumping off into the garter stitch, the edges, which is the last 10 rows of the stitch, which is also the same as the first 10 rows. So for row 35, you're going to be E-wrapping all the way across. Here I am showing you how we just knit off. And then for row 36, you purl the entire row. So it's no longer that pattern. Starting from row 36 all the way to row 44, you're just E-wrapping the row that are odds, and you're going to be purling the entire row that are even. Okay, and this is how your project should look. Of course, in the color blocking sequence, I just keep the same video just because it is the same technique. Here is row 45. Should you want to cast off, it is always an option. If you don't want to keep your squares on the loom, I provide this cast off, which is the same every single time. If you want to sew all your squares at the end so you know which squares you want together, which one to be together. So I'm showing you really quickly here. At the end, you'll see the picture of the finished product that we did today, as well as I will do an insert from beforehand before the cast off. I will be definitely throwing out another video tomorrow too. I will let you know what square I end up doing. I believe it's going to be a simple one block center body portion of one color. And it's almost very similar to this, except we are not including the garter ridge into that color change. So that means we're going to have some tails in the center portion. We're adding in extra strands. So that's going to be exciting, and I hope to see you in the next video. I hope you join me. I guess that's a better way to say it. Alright, well, as always, I hope you got inspired in some way and you tag along with this blanket or whatever you happen to be making. If you do these squares just as they are, it'd be a perfect size for a scarf, and you just keep building it, and I can definitely see it as a scarf. So get creative, go crazy, and yeah, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.